Hello, my name is Kerioth, Plaguebearer extraordinaire and Herald of Nurgle, and today we're going to talk about the new Nurgle models for 2018. Oh yeah, I know, I'm a couple of days late, give me a break. I'm pretty sure this stuff turned up actually on Christmas Day or something, and I was busy being drunk and having a birthday, same day. Not great when you're a kid, but great as an adult because it gives you an excuse to drink twice as much in the same space of time. It's quite good. So yeah, we're going to talk about the new Nurgle stuffs. What we talked about in the video last week, it turns out is actually true, which is awesome because I like it when things turn out to be true that I am excited for. I don't like it when I'm excited for something and it turns out to be bollocks. That's not fun. I am, as you may have noticed, still ill. 2.5 weeks at this point. Nice. Actual pneumonia, so that's great. The new viral marketing technique by Games Workshop, it seems, is to have Nurgle actually make people ill with actual viruses. I don't think pneumonia is actually a virus, is it? Isn't it an infection? Whatever it is, there's like liquid in my lungs. It's not great. And then that way, you know, you sort of act as like a human advertisement for Grandfather Nurgle's delightful gifts, which he can take back and leave me alone now. Oh dear God. Anyway, let's have a look at these models, what we talked about last time, which it turns out what are real. That wasn't a sentence. So, first of all, we've got some drones. And then he said drone kings, I don't know why. 7 drones are bloating. So some of these are screenshots from the video that Games Workshop put out, which was absolutely fantastic. Loved the singing. I love the 2 thin cones of paint reference. Excellent work. And in that video was some new funky stuff, including this, which look like Blight Kings on drones, which I actually quite like the look of. I also quite like the paint job there. I don't know whether it's just the lighting, but I like the kind of the darker green on, especially on the lead Blight King there. Looking good, looking real good. And then we have some rather spiffy beasts. We were correct. Multiple people were correct. It was Beasts of Nurgle with those amazing, weird, wacky, waving, inflatable tube heads they have there. I'm seeing them in a bit better detail, a bit closer up. I like most of them, but I'm not entirely sure about the faces. I like the bodies. I like the weird kind of undersea creature hairdos they've got going on. I like that. The faces I'm not 100% convinced by, just because they seem a little bit more cartoony than even the rest of the Nurgle stuff is at the moment, which I don't know. I don't know. It might work out in practice. It might just be that the way it's been filmed and stuff isn't doing them any favours. With some clearer pictures, I might well change my mind. But for now, I reserve the right to be a little bit cautious, just a teeny bit cautious. We also have new Plaguebearers by the look of it, and I'm loving the Plaguebearer with the long scroll there. It's an excellent storage device he's got there as well. You know, just sort of sticking them in his gut for safekeeping. Good work, liking it. I will say that the placement of the Plaguebearers for the video is not ideal because this poor chap has been almost cut off, but it does mean we get to see the chap with the bagpipes. That's straight up from the description in the Dark Imperium novel, isn't it? Of one of the Plaguebearers playing bagpipes as the rest of the Plaguebearers march out of the rotting void whale carcass that transported them onto whichever planet it was. I cannot remember. Loving the massive mouth on whatever that thing is. I mean, it's clearly a shoulder. So is that his mouth? It is his mouth. Look, I hadn't even twigged. I'd not even twigged. It's going down and around and up there. That is quite the arrangement. Mind you, at least people will be able to hear him. So it's basically like a Vox caster, but from a Plaguebearer. Also, isn't that part of a Rumour Engine picture? I'm sure we saw that as part of a Rumour Engine picture. I think it was like a feathery quill. I had it down as something to do with Stormcast Eternals, or maybe Eldar. But I was not expecting it to be attached to a Plaguebearer. I'll be honest, that is not what I was thinking at all. Not bothered though. It looks cool. It looks nice. That's so daft. We also, excitingly, got information on new Great Unclean Ones, and I have to say, these look solid. So one of the things that I was a little bit worried about when we saw the when we were talking about that little Nurgling on the little bloat fly thing, I was a little concerned that a new Great Unclean One might be even more cartoony than the old Great Unclean One, which I was a little bit like, do we want that? Do we not want that? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, they actually look pretty damn good. Although, I have to admit, I cannot see that little Nurgling, the one that we used as a basis as to why, as to like, oh, well, a Great Unclean One is probably coming when you look at this dude, because he's very reminiscent of the old Great Unclean One with the long tongue and the horns. Can't see him anywhere in these pictures. Maybe I'm just blind, but I do like the irony of making an assumption based off a Nurgling and then finding that the assumption is correct, but the Nurgling has got nothing to do with it. So that's nice, that's fun. So there's 3 different varieties. There's 2 just Great Unclean Ones, and then there's a named Great Unclean One called Rotigus, which is a great name, except it's very difficult to pronounce because my voice is so knackered. Rotigus, yeah, that sounds better. And, well, let's take a look. They are pretty much the same size as current Great Unclean One, which is quality. They're about the same width as a Glockkin, but not nearly as tall. I think they're maybe 2/3 to 3/4 of the size, height-wise. But yeah, let's have a look. I mean, look at that. That is quite good. That is quite good. That is quite a good model. It's definitely great, and it's definitely unclean. I'm liking the incorporation of things like chains and stuff into this. To be honest, it gives the model something a little bit more to focus on. When you've got something that big that is going to require so much in the way of similar shades, I think you need kind of stark, standout things to really pull it together, or to, just to make it a bit more visually interesting. And the sword full of skulls, which is quality, by the way. It's a shame it's too big to use on anything, but oh, you could totally do. Ooh, you could absolutely do a Nurgle themed Imperial Knight, and you could absolutely give it that sword instead of the chain sword it's got. You could totally do that. That would be quality. That would look so good. I'm getting all happy thinking about that. I can't do it. It'd be silly. It'd be silly to have a Nurgle themed Imperial Knight, because I don't have, apart from the Dark Imperium stuff, I don't have a Death Guard army. What would be the point? The point would be that it would be badass. Difficult. You could even use the chains on the portrait. No, shush. Anyway, so it looks pretty damn good. I do like it. The little bits of detail, like the skin tearing, I say little, it's actually quite big. The big bits of detail, like the skin tearing on the arm, the little sensor being held by that Nurgling there, little breakouts of little tentacles and stuff. The grin is massive, but it's also sinister. It's not, I don't see that as a goofy grin. That's more of a, oh dear God, what the hell has happened to this demonic freak grin, which is what I'm after from a Great Unclean One, to be honest. I was never a fan of the tongue coiling around the sword on the previous Great Unclean One. Was the previous Great Unclean One I'm thinking of just from Forge World, or was it the standard one? You know what, I can't remember. Let's find out. Let's quickly find out, because I want to make sure I am comparing it to the one that is actually... Yeah, no, I'm thinking about the Forge World one. I'm not even thinking about the Games Workshop one. Well, I mean, Jesus Christ. I've just been thinking of the Forge World one all along. That needs a goddamn update. Look at it. God, oh, that's awful. I mean, maybe the paint job isn't doing any favours either, but that is not great. Okay, let's have a quick glance at the Forge World one, because that is the one I've been comparing it to this entire time. There we go, yeah. God damn, 125 quid. I mean, I know it's Forge World, but the prices always surprise me, regardless. Yeah, so I believe they are about the same size anyway. There was an image that I saw with them next to each other. I just couldn't find it, unfortunately, for this video, but they look to be pretty similar sizes. I mean, look at that compared to those. Oh, that's garbage. Go away. No one likes you. So yeah, that looks way better than the existing Games Workshop one, and I have to admit, I'm not seeing a huge difference quality-wise between the Forge World one, and the Games Workshop one. I say maybe that's a bit more cartoony, maybe that's a bit less cartoony there, but the tongue, I much prefer not sticking out. This is one of the other setups you can have them with, so you can have with this awesome, like, carving dagger. I don't even know what you'd call that, but it looks badass. Again, nice skull motif there. It looks so good as some sort of conversion. The massive bell, I'm always a fan of the massive bell. Don't like the tongue there at all. I think the face would look way better without that tongue in it, but you can probably just not attach that and it would be fine. I'm liking the weird tentacles, like the octopus tentacles coming down there. It seems like the bodies are pretty similar, but you do have, it looks like a decent, yeah, I mean, you can do a decent amount of combinations there. I mean, I can see no reason why you wouldn't be able to give them both the sword and the dagger if you wanted to, if that's a relevant, like a legal relevant war gear option. You can definitely swap the heads out by the look of it, so you could do a mix of the two if you wanted to. And finally we've got the named guy here. Now this is actually quite a significant departure from the others. I mean, that stomach is definitely different, because, you know, you've got this tear and you've got the intestines there. I'm really curious as to how the stomach especially is put together now, because that is not, it's similar to that. Maybe there's like an insert that you put in there. Be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see it broken down on the sprues. I'd quite like to see it broken down on the sprues. Again though, you've got kind of, it looks like the arms are a bit different. The positioning of the arms are a bit different on Rotigus compared to the kind of just unnamed Great Unclean One options. So I think you might be able to get a pretty unique looking Great Unclean One out of this. I mean, I say unique looking, the body shape's always going to be the same, but I think there's potential for messing about and playing with the arms and stuff between the three variations, which means you should be able to get some pretty cool stuff out of that thing. Yeah, I like it. I have to say that's a really nice Great Unclean One. I find it quite funny that you see the Forge World Great Unclean One so often. I'd just forgotten completely what the Games Workshop one was. I thought it was the Forge World one, but it isn't. I desperately need an update though. I can't believe the look of that old Games Workshop Great Unclean One. Looks absolutely shocking. Looks terrible. These I quite like. There's a nice bridge in the gap there between overly cartoony and just full-on grotesque. I feel like it's a healthy middle ground between the stuff that we see for sort of modern Death Guard and modern Nurgle, like when those images of like the Blight drones and the Nurgle beasts. I feel like there's a good healthy middle ground between those and the Forge World Great Unclean One. So yeah, that's pretty solid. That's pretty good. I look forward to seeing the sprues for that actually, because I really do feel like you could do some funky stuff with that. And if all three of those come in the same kit, which it seems like they will, and that'd be the most sensible way to do it, of course, you could have some potentially funky stuff left over for some badass conversions on other models. Like if you wanted to stick a Great Unclean One in your Death Guard army and you wanted something like an Imperial Knight in there, you could do some cool stuff with that. Well, I suppose if they're both Lord of War, I don't know. But anyway, you could do some funky stuff with that. You could have some cool parts left over for some interesting conversions. All in all, liking it. I'll give that a solid 9 out of 10. And I'm only docking 1 point because I don't like the tongue on the second one. Other than that, 100% on board for that. That is one of those things that I think I would actually get just to paint. It's a big thing to get just to paint though, so maybe not. But anyway, what do you think? Do you like them? Do you think they look good? Are you excited for new Beasts of Nurgle? I'm kind of hoping for some other focus on some other Chaos Gods in the new year, which we'll talk about in another video. But yeah, I'm liking this Nurgle stuff so far. It'd be good to see it all side by side in like an army setting, like an armies on display sort of thing. I'd quite like that. Armies on parade, armies on display. What am I talking about? I'm ill, leave me alone. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think of the models down in the comments below. In the meantime, you can click more videos you want, or there's a subscribe button if you want to, or a Patreon button if you want to. And I will see you for the next one. Toodaloo.